exciting, it's time to relax. Cause we do this for the culture, African and the nation.
One time, two time for the cha-cha gang. Give me the cha-cha gang. Rockin' with the best, cha-cha gang. Give me the cha-cha gang. Alaila with cha-cha gang. Give me the cha-cha gang. What's my body, cha-cha gang.
Good day, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, and members of the Cha-Cha Nation. Welcome to another episode of the Cha-Cha Let's Talk Music series on the Cha-Cha Music Review Podcast. You know now, my name is Afis Tonova, aka your musical plug, creator of the Energy Force. And on this episode, I have two special guests with me. Yes, trust me when I say these girls are special. And we'll be talking about something totally different from what you used to hear on the Cha-Cha Let's Talk Music series. I without wasting much of your time, let me allow them to introduce themselves.
Hello there, my name is Gboyega and Nelson, one half of the Sample Axis podcast. What we do on the Sample Axis is basically talking samples. So music traveling from old times to new times, new music and old music, that's what we do. So yeah, I'm happy to join Cha-Cha Music Review Podcast hosted by yours truly, Afis Tonova.
Hello guys, my name is Nelson. I'm the other half of the Sample Axis podcast. I feel like my co-host has done enough in terms of introducing what we do on Sample Axis podcast. I'm really excited to be here to talk with our boss, Afis Tonova, on the Cha-Cha Music Review podcast.
Thank you very much, both of you, for being here. And I so appreciate it. I would say it's an honor having the both of you on this podcast. Now, without wasting much time, like I said, we're going to be talking about something that is not what I usually discuss on the podcast, but it's something I've been wanting to do for a very, very long time. I'm so glad that I can do this with you guys. We want to talk about Fuji music, but we want to use Kwam the Ultimate, as, should I say, the yardstick or the focal point, of Fuji music. And the reason why I'm saying so is because over the years, Kwam the Ultimate or King Wasiu Ayinde Marshall, or like his current title, the Mayegun, of Yoruba land, whichever way you want to call him. Over the years, I think he has remained that symbol when it comes to, Fuji. No disrespect to those before him, talking about the baristas and every other person that had before him. But looking at from where he's coming from to where he's now to date, it looks like that's main artist that has been there from the beginning to this present moment. So I'm just going to ask you, let me start from Gboyega. When was the first time you got introduced to Kwam's music?
We're talking years and years ago, and I really wouldn't be able to pin a time because I grew up, let me just tell stories. I grew up in Lagos, mainly Agege, and so whatever was on radio would be playing. So unconsciously, I'm sure when I was 3 or 4, I must have heard maybe Consolidation, or maybe, Baby Miso Color. So must have been that early because 96, it had one album. I think it was Consolidation, Legacy in 96. In 99, there was one album that Fuji Fusion, this one of these very popular songs. So I'm sure early on when I was like age 4, age 5, I must have heard it unconsciously. But when I really, really paid attention to a Wasiu Ayinde tape, was Consolidation. There was this very shiny video, Baby Miso Color. Yeah, that was the first time I connected. Yeah. That was the time for me. Yeah, good times.
By Nelson, what about you?
If I can remember clearly or vividly, I would say it has to be 2002. That was the first time I got. Although I'd been listening before then. But 2002, I got a grip of the power that is Kwam's music at the time because one of my younger ones at the time, they had to do his naming ceremony then. And when I mean my younger one, somebody that is, like family to me. So their family, they are big fans of King Wasiu Ayinde Marshall. And I remember very well, I think it was Fuji Fusion at the time that was released in 1999, as well as there was this particular album called New Lagos. I don't know whether I can remember New Lagos. There was this New Lagos album at the time. It was talking back, like he was basically, that New Lagos it wasn't the party kind. It was like he was hailing people mostly in that album. Yeah, I think it was that one. Yeah, 2001, I guess, 2001. And that particular time. But if anybody asks me that, what time, when did you listen to Fuji music, or when did you start listening to King Wasiu Ayinde Marshall, I would say 2002. That was the time I started listening, and I tuned in from then. And even till date, I still, mess with the sound. I love the sound so much.
All right. Like Gboyega rightly said, for me also, consolidation was that time that I actually got key, into Wasiu's music. And obviously, that had to be that song, Baby Misho Colore Kajoma. I mean, I feel that was the first time I heard the song, and I felt like, okay, I think I know. Like Gboyega rightly said, I've been, here and there listening to some songs, and we just hear the song. But it was that time that I actually paid attention to, that I started knowing, the song, lyrics for lyrics. Okay, it was Wasiu that sang this song. He sang this song. And that album, Consolidation, had, so much, song, because I could remember it was in that album that he also spoke about how they crowned him, the king of Fuji in Ibadan. And I think that album for me was the album, or no, don't let me even call it album, because back then they don't use the word album, they use the word record. It's these days that we talk about album and album. For them, it was just about record, and it was record that he used, and it was from that record that I actually got to know Wasiu. But here's going to be my question, and let me start with Nelson. What do you think has made Wasiu so relevant that even now, should I say the Gen Z, let me use that word, quote unquote, the Gen Z generation still somehow, connect with Wasiu till date? It's a different case where you hear a song like Sunny Ade and you can say, oh, I remember when my dad used to play Sunny Ade. But when you hear a Wasiu song, you talk about the song as if, you've been a fan of Wasiu for ages and all that. What do you think has made Wasiu stay relevant from when he started his music with Barrister till this present moment? What would you say has worked for Wasiu?
Well, if you ask me what I think has worked for him, I would say versatility. Very, very key. Versatility. Now, if you listen, or if you have listened back to those albums from 1975 down till this point, you would see there's always a change. There's always a time. I mean, even from the covers of his music, this man was in tune with the time that he was in at that moment, if you understand what I'm talking about. Yeah. He always paid attention to what was popping at the time, and he would always look for a way to fuse in, even though the original roots of Fuji music, for example, like when we say SAB now, Secret Ayinde Barrister now, there's like a base, there's a correct base of the sound. So a lot of the new Fuji guys and the older Fuji guys, they didn't deviate too much from it. But you see, when it comes to Kwam, he took out his time to learn and understand what was happening. Like now, I was going to say something earlier. Just remember now. From 1970, he left Secret Ayinde Barrister's band in 76 or 77. And all the way down to the early 80s, he had a particular type of sound. You can tell. You understand? You can tell that he had a particular type of sound. Yeah. But from Talazo's system in 1984, there was a switch. Mm-hmm. He was still sounding the same way, but there was, you could tell that this is Fuji, but there's something somewhere. There's something in this. And as at that time, he was beginning to he was carving a niche for himself. Like, okay, I'm part of this Fuji genre, but I'm still a class apart. And now, move down to the 90s, when you talk about consolidation in 1995, there was already a change, like a major change in terms of how he sounded at the time, how his music was approached at the time. And we are also seeing it evidently now. There's 2020, there's Fuji, the sound that has trap vibes, basically. I mean, big shout out to all the people that have been doing the Fuji thing, the Pasoma, Adewale Ayubas, that have been doing it for a very long time, and they have continued to do it. They have found a way to create something for themselves. But the standout man, the outstanding man in this case, like the Gap Bound said in that particular song in the 80s, they would say it is King Wasiu Ayinde because of versatility. So that's the only thing I would say. That's not just the only thing, because of hard work, obviously, and to keep up basically is a lot of work. But he has done it over and over again. If you want to understand the growth of King Wasiu Ayinde Marshall, just get his albums, like the cover of all the albums, and you see what I'm talking about.
All right. So now, before I go to Gboyega, still on the same question, let me just quickly chip in this thing. Wasiu, for those of you that don't know, Wasiu was part of the Sikiru Ayinde Barrister's band called the Fuji, called the Supreme Fuji Commander, and he was there from 1975 to 1978. And for those of you that also might be wondering, now I was supposed to have said this at the beginning, but let me just say this now. Wasiu's real name are actually Wasiu Omogbolawan Olasukomi Adewale Marshall. Now, the Ayinde was a name that he adopted when he was about leaving Barrister. He asked for his blessing and his permission, and he added that name to his name, and that was how he became Ayinde. But from the onset, when they gave birth to him, the Ayinde was not part of the name. And every other name that he acquired along the way, he was just picking them up and picking them up and picking them up. So now, back to you, Gboyega. What would you say has made Wasiu so relevant till date?
I think all of the things Nelson said, and then in addition to that, Nelson mentioned hard work when he was closing his remarks. Hard work is so important. I think we did an episode on sample axis and we counted like 25 albums. I'm sure there is more. So when you do 25 albums, definitely there are many live albums. So, but studio albums, if you sit down for like 30 years and you have more than 30 albums, studio albums, that is a lot of work. And then deliberately altering the sound. If you listen to Talaso in 84, and you push it to 94, the sound would have changed, either by addition of another kind of piano, or the saxophone, or double saxophone, or one more guitar to the band. There was conscious efforts to alter the sound. Now, push it forward to a time like Solo, Makinde, the growth in the sound, there is a consistent growth. Okay, let's make this sound different from what I did in 84. So that has helped him. Apart from that, Wasiu is very culture conscious. When I say culture conscious, there was a time he did, like not once, over and over, he would do albums to celebrate kings across Yoruba land. So he would do one album on the side B, he would hail Alaafin of Oyo. On another one, he would hail Ooni of Ife. Another one, Olubadan. Another one, he would do across the states in Yoruba land to familiarize with the cultures. And apart from that, he's also politically conscious. The elites look at a song like Eyo, those songs that are cultural and very important to Lagos lifestyle, he is there. He is that guy that continues to make something for the culture. And so when there's an event that has to do with Lagos, who is the guy that we call? Wasiu is the alt, and he's mature. Of course, big respect to Pasuma and Obesere and the rest of them. But Wasiu is someone who can appeal to the 18-year-olds and appeal to the 80-year-olds as well, because he has sounds for everybody. So transcending generations, I think those things have kept him, still very relevant till today. I mean, look at last year. There was a time, and Mama Esempe, that's a sound for the streets, low key. There's another one, 2020, where he did, the viral one, and then that went all over the place. People age 3, we don't even know it's Fuji music, but it's danceable, it's enjoyable, and something for the young people and also for the old people. I want to go back to consolidation. Bobo no go die unless that is a hit song. That's a hit song. And when you do that for Boys in the Streets in 1995, if you are not listening to Jaru, if you are not feeling hype or hip or American hip hop, if you are Lagos boy trying to ball, that's a song for you. So he appeals to every generation, and so he's still here.
How he has been able to blend from the past to the present is just one thing like you rightly said, no disrespect to the Oshupas, to the Ayuba, to the Obesere, to the Remi Aluko and all those stuff. But when you talk about Fuji, I think the first name that always comes to your mind has to be K1, the ultimate. And I think it's kind of clear to see why he's the ultimate, because his longevity, for someone that started his music from way back in 1970 something, I mean, if you hear his story, he started music maybe when he was about 13 or 14, joining Barrister's band. And, from then up to this point in time, that when you want to talk about Fuji music, you are still able to mention, Wasiu. I feel like that is something so insane and so incredible. Now,
let me quickly add this. Let me add this before you go on.
okay.
So, when you asked about what has kept him, I'm a Yoruba person, and Yoruba people also very believe in respect.
Yeah.
Check his trajectory. He always pays homage to his Oga. There is that. I mean, I'm just going to mention one song. I'm sure there are many more songs. Orindowo, Orindola. On that song, he mentioned Ayinde's impact on his music. Latori and Tutibere, the person who started this. That thing would always bless you if you give respect to who it is due. Even those who were his seniors, who are not as popular. There was a man, I can't remember their names, but there were some people, apart from SAB, late Sikiru Ayinde Barrister, and Alhaji Kolinta Ayinla. There were other people who were just maybe in his class or a little one step ahead of him. He would always mention them and acknowledge them. And that would always give him that, space, and that it would make way for him. Already he's a hard worker, he's a sound definer, so to speak. And then if you add on to that, culture custodian, and then he respects the people before him, it is only right that he goes forward with and succeed with music.
Yeah, it's only right that he goes forward and he succeed with music. And now let's talk about because we're talking about sound and how he has been able to change with his sound. Now, for Fuji artists like Pasuma, for example, we know that Pasuma has been one of the things that has made Pasuma relevant is the fact that Pasuma at times move away from Fuji, and it goes into hip hop. I mean, I feel like Pasuma is probably the most featured Fuji artist on any hip hop track. I stand to be corrected, but so far so good. I don't think they featured any Fuji artist more than Pasuma in terms, when it comes to collaborating between Fuji and hip hop. But if you look at Wasiu, I really don't think there's been much, featured from any hip hop artist. Although we've had, should I say that I can remember on the top of my head right about now, I think Olamide is the only hip hop artist that has, kind of sampled Wasiu. Like I said, remembering from the top of my head, you guys can chip in if you remember any. But Olamide is the only one that I know of at the moment that really sampled on Wasiu's song, and that was this Omani Fowoshe, Omani Fowo, Iru Kile Omani Fowoshe. So I mean, for someone that has not really crossed, he didn't go outside his genre of music. He stayed within that genre of music, and he has been able to, should I say, let me use the word manipulate, but let me say improve. Because like you rightly said, I mean, he took it all the way from Barrister. Barrister started it, he took it, learned from the master, and then he continued to be defined the sound every year, every time. I could remember when I was listening to Consolidation, and there was a part in that Consolidation where he was singing about, hip hop, Jojo me, I want him hip hop, Jojo me. And underneath the whole Fuji drum, you could hear the typical that hip hop vibe. You could hear it in that song. And as way back as
this was 95. Oh.
Exactly. And I feel like Wasiu is just, honestly speaking, I think his talent is something that should be talked about more. Probably because, like I said, Fuji music, now is not Afrobeat, is not hip hop. So a lot of us don't see it as something big or something major. But if you look at it, I think that has been that is one major genre of music, that we have in Nigeria. So I'm just going to ask this. For me, and this is where I want you guys to, put in, I'll start from Nelson. I would say 2020, when Wasiu decided to do Fuji the Sound, that's the EP, bringing about Adeorio King, Awade, Majoni Show and all that. Now, that EP for me was like another defining moment, for Wasiu's career, because that EP just be blew. And this is where I'm going to the replay value of Wasiu songs. Now, I'm not a big fan of how am I going to put it? I'm not a big fan of Paso. I'm a huge fan of Oshupa, but there are some Oshupa songs that I hear today and I feel like, like if I hear those songs today, I feel like I think I only enjoyed that song when it came out. I don't enjoy it this time around. but there is hardly any Wasiu song that you will hear today and you won't still have. I remember when I had that Fuji the sound, I felt the same excitement I was feeling when those songs came out was the same excitement I was feeling hearing the new verse or the new the new one that he did. So I feel like for me, his replay value is top notch. What do you guys think about that?
I'll say something. In all that we have been talking about, there's something that we need to put a pin to, a point to.
Okay.
King Wasiu makes timeless music.
Good.
Now, one of the things you need to also take note of is that the Fuji the Sound album were carefully picked songs.
Mm-hmm.
They were not just random songs. That, oh yeah, okay, this one was cool, this one was cool. No, they were carefully picked songs. They know that these songs are songs that nobody. I mean, it's like Awade. Awade was just. It wasn't a major part of Fuji Fusion, if we're being sincere.
Exactly.
But it stuck with everybody because it was just a vibe. And years after, it continues to be a very, very important part of the music. And that's why they carefully, King, even before the album came out, my younger brother in the house played the heck out of those songs. Just because, and this, my younger brother is like few more, like at least some months younger than I am. And he knows the songs better than I. So, like, you understand that he makes timeless music. As a young man, as a young chap, even if you are fall down to like 48 or 50, I think Gboyega was saying something about that. Whatever age you are, as far as you listen to some specific songs, I'm not saying everything because I'm sure some people not be able to relate to some of the songs from King Wasiu Ayinde, but like you would be able to vibe to at least one or two things. The real key thing, anybody can vibe to it. Awade, anybody can vibe to it. If you check those songs, timeless music. That is why he's always going to be relevant. I'm sorry I'm about to put this person in, but I feel like there's no way for me to, so that I can explain to the younger generation as like myself what I'm talking about. Muisc has been doing a whole lot.
Definitely.
In terms of music for Afrobeats. But there are few songs that you know that 20 years from now, if you play Oju Elegba, everybody's going to vibe to it.
Definitely.
You understand? If you play Pakurumo in 40 years from now, you're talking about 40 years from now, play Pakurumo anywhere, people will jam to it. Because of these songs, these particular songs, they are timeless sounds. You understand? And that's what he made also with the Made in Lagos album. But we're talking about King Wasiu has numerous albums to pick from. So I'm telling you that if he's going to like create a bigger album, maybe a Fuji Sound 2 or Fuji Sound 3 or Fuji Sound 4, all he needs to do is just listen back. I wouldn't be surprised if I say Mama Sempe comes back as a different vibe. I wouldn't be surprised. And I feel like people will vibe more because I'm not sure the entire demographic, like the 0 to 64, I'm not sure it's everybody that's picked up from that. Because I remember there was a time in Lagos, because I grew up in Lagos, I grew up in Bariga, I'm a Bariga boy. So there was a time, I'm talking about I don't know what year was the Mama Sempe. There was a time, I think it was Gboyega was telling me about it recently. I can't actually remember the year now. 2013. Around that time, from like 2014 down to 2017, there was no party that you would play in or that people would play music around that Bariga area that you not. Who are you? What are you doing? What's your work? You have to play the sound. So it's timeless sound basically, and he has lots of them. In fact, I'm curious. I want to see more like new stuff, like entirely new stuff from him, because he has the attention of everybody now. Trust me. And when I mean everybody, I mean the Gen Z as well, because I know he has the attention. Like our fathers and mothers, those ones are on lockdown. Anything King Wasiu does is go to them.
Go to them.
But the Gen Z now, he has the attention fully. They are going to want to mess with any of the sound that comes out. So really, the ball is in his court. He's the one in charge, as it is right now. He basically is in charge. And that man, I need to say it again, big ups to him. He never stops working. I think I need to say that again. He never stops working. Consistency, hard work. It's just amazing, really. He's 64 and it feels like he has been alive forever. Yeah, and that's one of the reasons why. That's one of the reasons why I'm always going to say big respect, big ups to the man, King Wasiu Ayinde Marshall.
Yeah, big respect to him. Okay. Gboyega, what about you? Let me ask you this, and we're going to use this to wrap up the whole conversation about it. If you are to mention, let me just cut it short as simple, because like you rightly said, we can pick 1,000 songs and we'll not even end the conversation today. But just your top three, just top of your head, which songs would you say are your top three songs from Wasiu?
Yo, of course it's hard, but we're just going to pick three. I'm going to be careful. There's one that they used to use to play adverts in one. There was a place I was staying, so every time they want to play advertising on radio, that song is instrumental. Awatunde ba Shende, Dr. Mogola Mama.
Oh no, that has to be part of mine as well. That's part of mine as well. If I'm picking the top three, Gboyega's number one is part of mine.
Yeah, Ajagun Segun Mowoju Waba mi Temi Baba Koro Kudayo. So again, when you listen to the lyrics, he's talking prayers, he's talking good things and all that. I'm going to pick another number, but I'll just, this one is one honorable mention. Orindowo Orindola. It's not part of my top three. I just want to put it as honorable mention. But if you listen to that song, he was talking about the fact that what Baba Ayinde started as, let's change Ajiwere or Latayi Ajiwere, let's change it and start something. What someone started as something out of sheer, like Baba Barrister was a military man, left military and then started music. So what someone started, and that's inspiration for people who want to start something. What he's saying on that Orindowo song is, what my guy started as, let me just start something. 20 years later, I am making millions of it. I'm touring the world off of that genre of music that someone created. That's the essence of that song. I mean, no pun intended. Essence is the biggest thing right now. So yeah, second one, I would pick Solo Makinde. The arrangement on Solo Makinde is crazy. Solo Makinde. Apart from the lyrics, if you listen to the beat arrangements, the saxophone, the trumpets, the drum sets, everything is in sync, and I love that arrangement. So let me just push to another one. I think I'll just have to go with Bobo No Go Die or Let's Do Badarugo, because that was a culture that was very impactful at the time. No, you cannot say you don't know that sound. And that was 95. In 1997, they were still jamming it. Even in the new year, they were still buying the video albums, because you will see the women wearing shiny dresses. In that video, there was one nice car he was driving. Whatever was raining in 95 was the car that he was driving. There was a slow song. I think the same album had I Can't Just Stop Thinking About You, My Love. So that album was...
Gboyega, you are stealing all my songs. I was already prepared my list.
Now he stole that one from me also.
Come on now. I was already saying I was going to just use that to enter when you ask me the question.
Sorry to you. Go and be looking for that one. So that very Consolidation album, you can still pick Legacy Sha. Consolidation album was very impactful. I mean, Vivid Imagination, the only design. I mean, all of that. So yeah, I would say those are my top three. And kudos to him. We respect what he has done. And also, let me add this. I mentioned that he always pays respect to older people. The people who are younger too, he always gives. I mean, the Arabambi agenda. He is Arabambi 1. Pasuma is Arabambi 2. Alauma Laika is Arabambi 3. So he moves with them. He joins them. He invites them. When he was doing 50 years old, all these guys were there to celebrate with him, even though there was a beef situation at the time, blah, blah, blah. But he's always connecting to the younger generation, putting them through. And so if you are doing what you should do for the older and the younger generation, it's only right that they pay you your respect.
All right. So Nelson, let's go to you. Your top three, even though Gboyega practically mentioned everything, finish.
I feel someone right now, because I don't even have anything to say right now again, because Gboyega has done. Even his honorable mention has packed all my best three. But first, I can't stop thinking about you, my love. I remember that. I mean, that memory of having to listen to that song for the first time is golden to me. So there are a couple of songs that I talk about. If you listen to my podcast, there are some songs that just just hits you. First time listen hits you.
Straight up.
And that's it. Like, for me, like Atlantic Stars, Silver Shadow is the song I always talk about. And then this one too, from Kwam. I can't stop thinking about you. And you have to hold this to me. Growing up, I didn't know how to speak Yoruba a lot. I didn't understand the language so well, like I do now. So I could only connect more to the songs that I understood at the time. You understand? So that's why it makes sense that I love that. And of course, Vivid Imagination, that one, Vivid Imagination. I remember that too as well. And and then I want to pick Adeori King because I have heard that song too much. And I'm sure you understand what I mean by too much. I feel like this is the first entry. And it's because, you know how it is now, when you listen to a song over and over again, you don't even know whether you love it or you just...
Like, you can't even go to it. If you're in a party now and they play that song, that's the end.
Everybody's going crazy. Bananas. So, it's great. Everybody's going crazy. And my younger one loves it as well. So, like, I just love the sound now. That's why I say I can't even... If you ask me, are you sure you love this as your top 3? I'm like, I can't tell you per se, but I just know I've heard it enough to say I love it. So that makes my top 3. And of course, there's one thing he does. I will just add this as like an honorable mention. There's this thing he does. I don't know. In hip hop, they call it the breakdown. You know that part where there's a space in between, and he's just flowing. He's just vibing. You understand?
Yeah.
Like, he's not really, really saying anything in particular, but the vibe is making sense. Like hailing people, talking about them, and messing around with words, back and forth. That breakdown. I think King Sunny Ade does it as well. KSA does it as well. But Kwam's version all the time, when he takes that breakdown, that I don't know whether that can be put as a sound. And you know what? If Kwam calls my name and I'm in a party, my account is empty. That's it. I'm going to spend all the money that I have with him. That's it. I'm going to avoid that. I'm going to make sure he doesn't try to call my name or say anything about me, because if he says anything about me, that's it. I'm gone. People should just hold me down, collect my phones, my ATMs, everything.
If I'm going to pick, my top 3, obviously we both, we've all agreed, that I just can't stop thinking about you. It's one of, it's classic, and that's definitely one of my top 3. Another song, that I'm going to pick. I don't know why, but every time I hear this song, I get so spiritually connected. I can't remember the name of the song, but it goes like this. Odere lamire, eledawa, koshowa bo gede kawa ma shishe, kama fenko, pepe.
Yeah, I know the song very well.
Every time I hear that song, my mind just goes like, damn.
Yeah, that's a classic. That's a classic as well.
I mean, and obviously, the last one for me has always been Our Day, Our Day. I mean, from the onset, I've always been a fan of, of that song so much. And my honorable mentions obviously has to be one of the one we rightly spoke about. That has to be Baba No Go Die or Less to Bada Ugo Baba. Those, at least these 3 that I've mentioned remain, my top 3 of Wasiu of all time. So once again, I really, really appreciate you guys for doing this with me. Thank you so much. But before I allow you guys go totally, let me just allow Nelson to do this. Just tell us how people can connect with your podcast, what platform your podcast is available, and how they can get to listen to the podcast.
All right. You can catch us on all the platforms where you get your podcast from. Just type in the Sample Access Podcast, TheSampleAxis podcast, and you get it on Google Podcast, Spotify, Anchor, wherever you get your podcast from. And we talk about samples. We talk about songs that have been redone, or talk about songs that, old songs that people decide to tweak. And we give you backstories as well. And trust me, if you listen, you're going to enjoy every part of it, because our backstories and our songs that we pick, they're always unique and golden, if you let me say that. And of course, you'll be able to, when you listen, you'll be able to see or get through to us via various platforms as well.
Yes, and I'm just going to, add to that trust me, their podcast is one podcast that you should not, and I say it with all my chest, you should not miss. If you are a fan of music, unless music is not your thing, even if music is not your thing and you want to get to know about music, then trust me, you need to get to listen to their podcast. They are doing amazing job. And I won't lie to you, the first time I heard their podcast, I'm like, no, I need to have these guys on my podcast. No. These guys, they are just boss brain. Let me use that word. That's what they do. Once again, thank you guys very, very much for being on the podcast. I really appreciate it. I hope we can, get to do this. I hope we can get to do this some other time. Thank you very much. Sure.
Most definitely. Thank you for inviting us, and enjoy yourself. Thank you for giving us your platform. We appreciate the words.
Yeah, and a big shout out to all your listeners as well. Yeah, big ups to them. Really, I'm also a fan of your podcast as well. I've been listening for a while now, even though I plugged in late. I like to say late because I'm binge listening right now to your podcast. But still, like everybody that listens, and big shout out to every single person that listens to your podcast as well.
Yeah, thank you very much. And big shout out to every Cha-Cha gang across the world. I mean, you guys have been fantastic. This is where we are going to draw the curtain on the Cha-Cha Let's Talk Music series on the Cha-Cha Music Review podcast, which is now being brought to you by Absolute Tap Media, your number one online media and digital marketing agency. It's like come your way with another episode. My name will always be Afis Tonova, aka your musical plug, creator of the Energy Force. Peace out.
Oh yeah, chill, relax, vibes on vibes. If you be bad, belle, you come on my side. Try to follow me, Yan, make I call my guys. Got a bottle of wine for the Cha-Cha gang. Dreads on my head like a Rasta man. Like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Man, this whole vibe got me higher, no lie. You waiting for the downfall, you do waste time. Right now, you are rocking with the true bass line. I pull strings like whiteys. Yeah, the bug give me on the right thing. Yeah, and I could do this all day. Yeah, this is my thing. Strike hard like the force of a lightning. Bulletproof vest, yes, call I'm guiding. You already know where we're residing. Cha-cha-cha-cha, that's my team. Cha-cha, two time for the Cha-Cha gang. Give me the Cha-Cha gang. Rockin' with the best, Cha-Cha gang. Give me the Cha-Cha gang. Alayela with Cha-Cha gang. Give me the Cha-Cha gang. Wati my body, Cha-Cha gang. Give me the Cha-Cha gang. Cha-Cha gang.
Wati my God, Afis Tonova. Queen Wafi, I see you. Miss B, Cha-Cha gang, Cha-Cha nation. Thank you. One love.